Hello, everyone, and welcome to our November 2023 free webinar, Virtual Bookkeeping Workflows, 5 Steps to Success. I'm so excited that you're joining me today. As always, I'm always excited to be here with you. And hello, Bradley, and anyone else who's joining, let me know in the chat where you're joining me from. I always love to know where you're joining from because we have people from all over the world, which really warms my heart because this is my passion. I feel like I live for these moments. I live to educate you, to empower you, to help you become better bookkeepers and accountants. And so this always brings me joy just to see everybody. So I see lots and lots of you joining, and let me slow down the chat so I can take a look at some. Natasha from Alabama. We have Lucy from San Antonio, Erin from Ontario, Canada, Jennifer from Plano, Texas, Crystal from California, Elizabeth from Houston, just right down the road here from me, Karen from Florida, Suzanne from Thousand Oaks, California, Amanda from Kentucky, Jackie from Tennessee, Letitia from California, Lisa from Wisconsin, and I'm skipping a lot here because there's so many of you. Actually, we had, I think it was 830 people sign up for this webinar, which lets me know that you're really interested in hearing about virtual bookkeeping workflows. So that's fantastic. And let me see who else we have. Heather from the UK. Hello from Scotland. Welcome. Janine from Ohio, Lisa from the UK. Hello, Lisa. Carmen from Canada, Heather from North Carolina, Danine from Maryland, Brittany from Colorado. So welcome, everyone. Again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining for this free webinar where I will be talking about virtual bookkeeping workflows and 5 steps to success. So I will go ahead and get started. So just a little bit about me. My name is Veronica Wasek. I'm the founder of Mavency, where we work with Shopify sellers and e-commerce sellers, and we specialize in bookkeeping and consulting services. I am the founder of the YouTube channel and blog 5 Minute Bookkeeping, and the founder of the Facebook group 5 Minute Bookkeeping with QuickBooks Online. And I believe there was another. So Brad, if you have a question, put that in the chat, or Jill, my assistant, will answer you. And sorry, Brad, your question is in the chat. Put it in the Q&A, and Jill will, I believe, can answer you. So what else? Founder of the 5MB Academy for Virtual Bookkeepers. And so I will tell you more about 5MB Academy later on in our webinar. I am a top 10 and top 100 QuickBooks Pro advisor, a CPA, and advanced certified in QuickBooks Online. I live in Sugar Land, Texas, right down the road from Houston, Texas. And you can follow me on Instagram at 5 Minute Bookkeeping. And we have some awesome social media posts on our Instagram as well as our Facebook page. Because I now have a wonderful assistant who does all of these amazing social media posts for me. So please follow on Instagram, follow on Facebook. The Facebook page is called 5 Minute Bookkeeping. And then you can see all of the wonderful and amazing things that Jill, my assistant, is doing because it's great. I love it. Just some administrative announcements. This presentation is subject to copyright, and you may not record this presentation for purposes of sharing it on YouTube or other social media, and you may not share the handout on social media. There are handouts, and they are linked for you in the webinar window if under handouts. If you don't see them, I believe Jill is giving you a link for you to just get it from Google Drive. We will, and speaking of Jill, Jill is my virtual assistant, and so she is my assistant in the background here today, making sure that everything's going well. She'll be sharing links and sometimes answering some of your questions. I will be answering your questions at the end of the webinar. I hope to leave enough time to answer all of your questions. I always try to do that. And in terms of questions, please put your questions in the Q&A tab. That is what I will be monitoring and answering from. So make sure that you put them in the Q&A tab. And then you may use the chat window just to chat amongst yourselves, or sometimes I will ask you questions during the presentation and then you can answer there. I will skip the outline because it'll be obvious to you what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to start with just my story, a little bit about my story and sort of this then and now, because if it's amazing the transformation that I have done in my own business. And looking back now, 13 years later, just everything that has happened. So then and now, what has happened? So then, 13 years ago, we were in the middle of a great recession. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any clients. I had actually lost 2 jobs I was working in the accounting field as an accountant, a CPA. And I lost those 2 jobs. And so I had nothing, no money, no clients, no employees, and really no idea what I was doing. And most importantly, I think no way of support in terms of a community, because we weren't doing Facebook groups then. People are barely doing Facebook, if you can believe this. 13 years ago, it wasn't used for business. So I didn't have a source of emotional support or of mentors, people who were doing anything in the virtual bookkeeping world. I was very much doing it alone. And really, I think being on the cutting edge, which served me well in some ways, but feeling like I was doing it all alone and figuring it all out on my own. So that was then, 13 years ago. I was scared out of my mind. I just the thought of, I have to talk to people I don't know. I have to do marketing. I have to sell. I have to put myself out there. I have to ask people for money. I wanted no part of it, but I didn't have a choice because I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money, and we needed the money. So I just thought, well, I will start my own business. It was very confusing. Even I wasn't quite sure what I was doing then. And then I found QuickBooks and really focused on becoming a QuickBooks expert. So now fast forward 13 years, I have a niche business. We specialize in Shopify sellers. We work with premium clients. We have a solid team of 7 people, including myself. So we're a team of 7. I work about 25 hours a week, sometimes less. I spend about 10% of my time on client work. So initially, I didn't have employees. I was doing it all myself. Now I spend about 10% of my time on client work. My husband left his job in 2019, so he has been happily retired from his job since then. And we, in the last couple of years, we bought a 90-acre farm in Hallettsville, Texas, and we're now making plans to move to our farm. So we will have our forever home at our farm, and actually, will be in 2024. That was a typo there. It says 2025, but it'll be next year, probably in about a year is when we expect to be moving into our new house. So there's a lot of exciting things going on, but you probably see me on YouTube, on social media, and I'm, so confident and I seem like I have it all together, and I seem so successful. And in some ways, I have been very blessed. But you have to look back at the Veronica from 13 years ago was just as scared as you are if you're in the same place where I was 13 years ago. All right. So what was the key to my success, or what were the keys to my success? Well, treating my business as a business. So I didn't consider it a side hustle, or I didn't see myself as a contractor. I very much knew that I was starting a business and that I would treat it as a business. And I also took the time to systematize what I was doing. So I understood that, hey, I can't just do everything by sticky, because that's initially when I was doing everything was just a sticky on my screen somewhere, or just notes and stickies everywhere. I realized that I needed to systematize what I was doing so that I would be more efficient, I could be more profitable. And then eventually, once I figured out I should add employees and team members that they could follow those systems that I had created. So that led to repeatable and documented processes. So as I started hiring team members, I made it part of their job to document everything that they did. So first, I taught it to them. We documented all the processes. We refined the processes. And then my team members started to follow those processes. And now over time, they really have taken ownership and have continued to systematize and to streamline those processes. All team members followed the same process. So we don't have people doing whatever they want to do. Everybody follows the same process. And we also had to set client boundaries and learn the hard way. Pretty much everything that I teach you is because I learned it the hard way. But we had to set a client boundaries as well, so that not only were team members doing what they were supposed to do, but also our clients were following the way that we do things. So let's talk about virtual bookkeeping workflows, because 800 plus of you signed up for this webinar to learn more about virtual bookkeeping workflows. So what are the challenges when it comes to virtual bookkeeping workflows? Well, first of all, how do you work virtually with clients? Many of us know that, yes, we can work virtually with clients, but how do you do that effectively, efficiently? How do you keep from having to go to a client's office? Because there are still people who are going to a client's office, and there are still clients who want you to go to their office. And then some of you may be working virtually, but you're not being very efficient. So how do you really work virtually with clients? How do you work efficiently so that you can be profitable? How do you know which apps to work with? Because there are so many apps. Let me know in the chat, are you just overwhelmed by all of the apps out there? I know I am. So let me know in the chat. Are you tired of so many app choices? And then we have challenges. How can you scale your business? Because like me, that I thought, hey, I'm just going to be a solopreneur, and I'll never have employees because I don't ever want to have employees. But I started realizing that, hey, I can build a business. I can be more profitable if I add employees. But then the challenge was, how do I scale this business? Because it's very hard, especially when you are a perfectionistic control freak like I was, that it was very difficult. So all of you in the chat are saying yes. Lisa says I don't have to check them all out. Maya says apps all seem the same and are so overwhelming. And there's just so many apps. And yes, and we will talk about apps, because I think that is probably one of the most overwhelming things we have to deal with in our industry. So what are the 5 steps to success when it comes to virtual bookkeeping workflows? We'll start from the top and we'll go right. Tech tools, document management, client onboarding, monthly bookkeeping process, including a quality control process, and team and client collaboration. So those are the 5 things that you need to have in place in order to really build a sustainable, profitable business that will serve you and hopefully lead to the lifestyle that you want to have. Let's talk about tech tools, because we already said there are way too many. And then Greg says 20 emails a day from people selling tax and bookkeeping apps. And I hear you, Greg. I am so tired of it. I haven't counted, but I get so many that I'm thinking about replying back with my own sales pitch to them, just to like, hey, you took the time to send a sales pitch to me. Now I'll send you one back. But we get emails about apps. I get emails from developers asking me if I want to develop an app. Just so much. And Elizabeth said she's so afraid of spending time learning and then something better comes along. Yes, and that can happen just because of everything has been growing so fast. So when it comes to apps, this is what I need you to start thinking about. You don't need that many apps when you're clear on the business that you want to build, the clients that you want to work with, and the services that you want to provide. So part of the reason why we have app overload is because we're trying to do too many things for too many different types of clients and having a difficult time saying no to less than ideal clients. I spent the better part of the summer talking about marketing and ideal clients and how to present our services. So you might want to look on my YouTube channel for some of the recordings of those webinars so that it can help you to really hone in on who is an ideal client. But again, part of the reason why we have this app overload is that we keep trying to do too many things for too many people, too many different services, which leads to too many apps that we have to use. So the first thing is clarity. What kind of business do you want to build? Who do you want to work with? What services do you want to provide? And most importantly, which services do you not want to provide? For example, I made the decision early on, I am not going to provide any tax services because I am a CPA. I could have provided tax preparation services, and I said, no, I don't want to provide tax preparation. I don't want to do payroll. I don't want to do anything that involves a deadline. And so I made a decision early on to hey, I will refer that out. I don't have to do it all. And even now, as e-commerce experts, we don't do sales tax filings for our clients. We don't do inventory consulting for clients. So there are still things that we don't do because that, again, we have to use more apps. We have to develop more expertise. We have to have more workflows. And so again, clarity. Sarah says she has deadline overload. Yeah. Say no, Sarah. Say no. All right. So what are some of the essential bookkeeping apps that you need to look at? So again, way too many apps. They all do different things. There is not one app that does everything. So we can't find just the one magic app. So we have to focus on what's essential. So we need to focus on basic business apps like Gmail, so your email apps, communication type apps, the basic apps that we need to run our business. Then we need to focus on service delivery apps, whether it's QuickBooks Zero, QuickBooks Online Accountant. We have to figure out what is the accounting platform that we're going to use. Next, we need to focus on workflow management apps, and I'll talk about those shortly. But basically, how will you manage your workflows or your projects or your due dates? How will you manage your people, even what they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing? Then you have sales and marketing apps, which include CRM systems or customer relationship management systems, Zoom, calendar appointment type apps. And then if you have a niche, then what are the niche apps that you're going to use? So focus on the essentials so that you don't get overloaded by so many apps and all the bright new shiny app. So here's an example of just a sample beginner tech stack. So I'm going to start in the center and then go clockwise from the top. So at the center is the service delivery app being used, which in this case is QuickBooks Online Accountant. Then going directly above, you have Gusto for payroll, Dext for receipt capture, Melio for accounts payable, Google Drive for your document management, and then Asana for workflow management, and Uncat to request or to communicate with your client regarding uncategorized transactions. So this is probably the lowest cost, I think, that I know of in terms of the apps that you can use. So Gusto is a paid app. Dext is a paid app. Melio is actually free depending on how you use it. Google Drive, if you already are using Google for Gmail, and now I can't think of what it's called, whatever, Google apps, then Google Drive will be included with your Google apps. And then Asana is free to start out with, and then Uncat is $6 a month. So it's something that you can use. And Natasha says you could even use OneDrive if you're using Microsoft. So if you're using Microsoft, then you can use OneDrive. So this is a sample beginner app that we're keeping it on low cost. And I've started that way. Well, we didn't have Uncat or Asana, but in terms of I need to keep my costs as low as possible. But once we started adding a team and really needed more robust apps, we made some changes. So the changes are now in yellow. So if you look at the one on the left, Keeper, so the Keeper app is the one that we went to for workflow management and client communication. So with Keeper, we can manage the full monthly bookkeeping workflow. We can collaborate with clients. We can also manage onboarding and cleanups, monthly workflows, and client communication. So we can request information from our clients directly from Keeper. And then for document management, we went with Box, which is a more robust document management system that has a lot more layers of security, as well as being able to track multiple versions of documents, as well as even being able to retrieve documents that you have accidentally deleted. So it's just a more robust option. So this is what I would call an intermediate tech stack that you can use in your bookkeeping business. And Keisha says you do not use QuickBooks for payables. No, I do not. I personally don't use anything outside of the core QuickBooks accounting software. We do not use any of their other apps just because they come and they go. In the 13 years that we have used them, a lot of the functionality and apps that QuickBooks has come out with has either been added and taken away or changed significantly. So we just went to other vendors that have relationships with Gusto, in this case, for payroll. And let's see. And Gary says, "What about Suite Dash for CRM?" Yeah, I mean, you can. This doesn't even include any CRM. So this is just more of service delivery type apps. But I'm sure some people have a favorite, for one versus another. And sometimes it's just who do you like to work with, and then you work with them. And for us, part of this is just building those relationships with the app developers. And at conference, sometimes, I don't know if you know this, but the QuickBooks Connect conference is going on right now. So all of the app developers are currently building relationships with all the conference attendees and trying to get people to use their app. All right, moving on to the second step to success is paperless document management. And if you have other questions for me, please put them in the Q&A, and I will answer you a little bit later. So number 2, paperless document management. So after we've identified the apps that we're going to use, we need to then focus on really having a good system for our document management. Why? Well, because we can collaborate. We can collaborate with our client. We can collaborate with our team members if we have team members, and then we can gather client documents and gather and store client documents, which leads us to the second step: storing client documents, storing internal documents. And then the third is security, to have something that is secure. I still see some of you in my Facebook group asking about how do I send a document via email and with a password. Don't send anything through email. We are not allowing our team members to even email clients anymore for any sort of request, and we certainly don't respond, or we don't want our clients to send us emails, because there's all of these scams going on now where you think you're getting an email from your client, but you're really not because somebody hacked their email. And so we just decided that's not a safe way to communicate with clients anymore. And we're using workflow management apps to do that. What are the goals of your document management system? First of all, no paper. Okay, so when we're saying document management, we're talking about cloud-based document management systems, no paper. So be paperless. So if you're not paperless, that's the first thing you need to do is go paperless. And the second thing, once you go paperless, because now everything will live in the cloud and you have to have a way to store it and find it, is that documents must be easy to search for and easy to retrieve. And so you have to have a file structure in order for that to work properly. So here's an example of how we at Maven track our client work. So we have a folder in Inbox, which is what we use for our document management system, which has the client's company name, the client's name, and then it says team folder. So this is where our team, our staff collaborate as far as document management. So within that folder, then we have a subfolder called ABC Client. And then, if we're doing the 2023 bookkeeping, then that's what it says. So if we're, whatever year bookkeeping we're doing, we have a folder for that. And then within that folder, we have subfolders to store all of the different types of documents, whether it's 1099s, accounts payable, accounts receivable, reconciliations, statements, journal entries, payroll, sales tax, and anything else that we might do for our clients. So again, it has to be easy to find, easy to retrieve, and you want your full team. So whether it's you and a contractor or employees to follow this system, because the last thing you need is to have a cloud-based document management system and have people just sort of put things everywhere, because it can really get out of control really quick if you don't follow a system, and especially when you're sharing files with clients, which leads me to the next step is, what does the shared folder look like for our clients? So when we're working with clients, we will share a folder with them and then put subfolders in there so that they can put the documents in the right folder and keep that nice and neat. So the folders in the shared folder or shared file are bank and credit card statements, financial reports or financial statements, payroll reports, and then anything else that you might be sharing with your clients or having them upload to you. So this is just an example. There's probably even many more other types of document categories that you would set up. So this leads me to the next question, and I know there's different answers depending on what part of the world you are in. Do we need all the receipts and source documents for clients? So I know that my Canadian friends are going to say that they need the receipts from their clients because they have to categorize all of the sales taxes for their clients, because in Canada, their accounting is very different when it comes to sales taxes. And so, yes, I know in Canada, you need those receipts. Perhaps some of my UK friends who are here today, let me know if you have to have your clients' receipts. So let me know in the chat. But for us in the US, we don't technically need all of the clients' receipts and their source documents, because some of you who have not done virtual bookkeeping usually get, you think, oh my gosh, now how is the client going to upload everything to me? And then the client doesn't want to upload everything to you because they could have done their own bookkeeping by the time they upload everything. And so we don't, in the US, we don't need to have all of the client's receipts and source documents to do their bookkeeping. So at Maven, at my company, we work primarily from the bank feeds and and use any apps that are bringing information into QuickBooks. And then we will request specific information from clients when we're not sure how to categorize their transaction. Then we will request information, or sometimes we'll see maybe expenses that maybe they look a lot higher than they used to. Or maybe the client took out a loan. Now we need the loan document, or they have a new lease. We'll need the lease document. We'll ask for specific documentation, but we don't ask for it up front. And Elizabeth says, Jack, I think we need them for audits. I've been through a few. So yes, clients should keep receipts. We are not required as bookkeepers to keep the receipts for our clients. Unless you want to make that a service, but then I will wish you good luck with trying to get the client to give you all the receipts. And this particular model of not requesting all of the source documentation works best with service-based businesses because it's a lot easier to categorize their transactions. So in a situation where you're not maybe having to deal with inventory or job costing, then it's easier to do the bookkeeping than for companies who are a bit more complex. Going on to number 3, client onboarding. What is client onboarding? Many of you have different definitions for client onboarding. So my definition for client onboarding is basically the process that takes place between getting a new client and starting service delivery. So this isn't cleaning up their books or maybe selling them something. This is just from the time that the client signed an engagement letter and paid you. Now they are a client, and then everything that happens in between until you start service delivery is onboarding. So it's essentially getting everything that you need from your client and getting them up and running. What is the onboarding workflow? You start with a signed engagement letter or signed service agreement and a paid invoice. That makes that client a client. Then you will send them a welcome message. Then you will set them up internally in your company systems, whether it's your QBO, CRM, document management system, etc. You're setting them up internally. Then you will get everything that you need from your clients. Then you will have a client kickoff meeting just to get them up and running, ask questions, set boundaries with them. Then you will plan your work. You will set up any apps like payroll apps, accounts payable, if those are the services that you are providing to your client. And then you will begin service delivery. And the most important thing is that you shouldn't start service delivery until you get everything from your client. Otherwise, you will have a lot of starts and stops. Let's talk about the client kickoff meeting and how you can use that client kickoff meeting to set boundaries with your clients. So many of us have struggled with, we find a client, we're excited to work with them, but they start treating us as an employee and they want to control the process and they want to tell you what to do. And so when you have a workflow or workflows for doing things, a system of doing things, then they need to follow your system, especially when you have a tried and true system like we do, because we have refined it for 10 plus years. And so one of the things that we do when bringing that client on is during that kickoff meeting, we want to set those boundaries with clients and start reinforcing the boundaries. So what are the things that we're discussing? Some of the things that we discuss are what we need from the client on a monthly basis. So what do we need from you? When do we need it? We discuss timelines for monthly deliverables. So basically, when will we have the work done? Of course, we let them know that we can't get anything done if they don't respond to us. We discuss expectations for how we will work together with our client. So how should they communicate with us? What method of communication do we want them to use? What is the frequency of that communication? How often can they contact you or a team member? What are your office hours? Discuss with the client when they can expect a response from you, because I know you have clients who are emailing and texting all day long because they need something. Well, the reason they're doing that is because you never set the expectation and the boundary of how they can communicate with you, or even what's included in their services. Is emailing you at any time of the day included in those services? Probably not. And so you have to set those boundaries and communicate that clearly. And you have to stress that you cannot complete your work unless the client is responsive to your requests. And most importantly, you have to let the client know what happens when there is an out of scope request. Out of scope means that it's a service that is not included in the engagement letter that you have with your client. So that whatever your client is requesting is outside of your existing agreement. So I gave you something here that you can use and just read it verbatim to your client. Basically, it says, excuse me, services outside of our existing engagement letter are subject to separate pricing. We will notify you if you request a service outside of our existing agreement, and we will provide, and that's the typo, provide a clear price estimate or upfront pricing before completing additional work. So very simple, set the tone from the beginning. Don't start doing work for free for clients because you're not getting paid for it. And so you need to make sure that you let the client know in advance of how additional services are handled. And let me know in the chat, do you have issues with setting those client boundaries? Do you have clients who are asking you to do out of scope work, and maybe you're having a hard time letting them know that that's subject to additional pricing? So let me know in the chat. And one of the things that we did very early on was to set up a client onboarding checklist. So basically just to go step by step of what happens during onboarding. And so we took the workflows that I showed you here. And then for each of those workflows, we wrote steps. So what's included in the welcome message? What are we going to say to the client? Who's going to send that to them? Okay, when we're setting them up in our company systems, where are we setting them up? What are we doing? Who's responsible? And Sonia says, no, I think she's talking to someone else. See, Greg says always issues with out of scope requests. Aaron says, I'm about to fire a client over these things that require a level of support I simply cannot provide. And Natasha says, learning from others, I will have a strong grasp for my new business about boundaries with clients. Yeah, and remember, guys, clients are not your employer, okay? So don't let them treat you that way. And I'm going to put this back so you can see a little bit of what's on the client onboarding checklist, although this is only the first 3 steps. So there are more steps. So it's only an excerpt. But going back to clients are not your employer. And so you are essentially in a mutual relationship where you provide service and they pay. But you are in full control over what you do for your client, and also in control to let the client know that something is outside of what they're asking for. Many of us are uncomfortable with those conversations, and it's just, you have to look at it as a business conversation. You have to take out emotion from it. And a lot of our emotion comes from fear because we're scared that client is now going to terminate our services and is going to affect us financially. And yes, that can happen. It's part of doing business, and you'd be surprised sometimes when you let go of a toxic client, how now you've made space for a good client. And so we have to look at it that way. Sometimes we're making space in our business, in our lives, to work with better clients, and we deserve to work with better clients. Okay, step number 4, monthly bookkeeping process. And As I said before, I started with not knowing anything that I was doing in terms of running my bookkeeping business. And I was using stickies everywhere. And so I had to systematize things. And one of those systems that I came up with was my own system for monthly bookkeeping in 5 steps. So basically, what are the 5 steps that happen when you're doing monthly bookkeeping? Well, number 1 is record. Number 2, reconcile. Number 3, review. Number 4, revise. And number 5, restrict. Let's go over the first step. Record. We're just going to make sure that all of the transactions are recorded in the accounting system, whether it's using bank feeds, whether that involves some manual transactions, maybe payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable, whether that includes app integrations. But the first step is making sure that everything that has a financial impact is recorded on the books. The second step is reconcile. So now that we have all the transactions recorded on the books, we need to make sure that everything reconciles to the source of truth, which is generally the bank and credit card statement. So we're going to prepare those bank and credit card statement reconciliations. And in some cases, if it's included in your service, you will also reconcile the balance sheet accounts. Usually you do that for accrual accounting clients. The third step is review. This is where now we have recorded all and categorized all the transactions we have reconciled. Now we need to do a quality review to make sure that we're putting out quality work. If you are a solo bookkeeper, this should be part of your quality control to review your own work. If you have a team, you generally would want to have a review process where the preparer reviews their own work, then the manager does a review as well. And ideally, you would want to use a review checklist to make sure that everything is reviewed and that everybody's following the same review process. And number 4, revise. Based on the review process, now we want to make some corrections, recategorizations. Usually in this process, we may be going back to the client to clarify. Perhaps maybe they did something and they just said, oh, put it to this account. And then we'll say, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's go back and ask the client, and then we'll get more information and then end up recategorizing that transaction. But it's basically the process where we make corrections and record adjustments based on the review process. And number 5 is restrict. So after we have done all of this work to our clients' books, we want to close the books in QuickBooks, which that just means we're going to password protect the books so that we don't make accidental changes to the books, whether it's our team or whether it's the client. So when we finish our monthly bookkeeping process, we always close the books in QuickBooks to preserve all the work that we did and not have anything change after the fact. Okay, so we have a monthly bookkeeping process. We have that under control, but the challenge now is that we don't just have one client. We might have 20 clients. We may have 50 clients. So now we have to manage all of this. Everybody is doing something different. There's a different phase for each client, and we have to be able to manage that. And so here's where we now have to manage work status and due dates in order to make sure that everything is getting done and that we don't have any work getting stuck or maybe even forgotten. So this is what we did. We set up a bookkeeping status board, and then we just sort of move the clients from one status to another. So if you look at the top, you'll see that we have a status for not started, waiting for client, in progress, in self-review, in manager review. And then once the work is completed, we notify the client, and then everything's done. We move it all the way to the right. Everything is completed. So this is a a way in which you can manage all of your clients and their status, because sometimes we'll have many of them sadly are in the waiting for client bucket just because they owe us something and we're still waiting. But you can set something up like this in Asana and Keeper in a lot of other different workflow management systems. Johanna's asking, where do we keep the status board? We have used Asana in the past, and so you can use a project board in Asana to do this. We're now using Keeper, and that's where we track it now. Excuse me. Trello is Joe Fox says Trello, Excel. And so there are many ways to do it. Just do it. That's the most important thing. So again, don't get caught up on like, I have to find the right app to do this. Just start doing it. And then get in the habit, and then you'll find an app that will help you streamline the process. Here are some suggested workflow management apps. Asana, whether it's the free or paid version. I know some of you are going to say you love ClickUp, and that's fine. Or Trello. But the one that I have used is Asana. But whatever works for you. Keeper app is one of my favorites. Also, we use that internally at Mavency. Financial Sense is another that I really like. And Client Hub is another. And again, there are many. And then, why Keeper versus Financial Sense versus Client Hub is just more of take your pick. Find what works for you. But you will not find an app that does everything that you need it to do, unfortunately. I wish there was, but there's just, I think, just too much complexity in what we do. And number 5, team and client collaboration. So once you have a team, even contractors, you start to have some issues. And here was the issue for me. Initially, it was just me, and I was just emailing clients for everything. But then I started to add team members. And the first struggle I had was that, wait, all the clients are talking to me, and now I'm bringing somebody in. Should they still talk to me? Should they talk to the new person? I don't know. So that was one issue. The second issue was that as we started to add team members and now everybody's emailing with clients, well, if that team member is out sick and they ask the client for something and now it's sitting in that person's email, I don't have access to that email. I don't have access to any conversations they had in the past because I don't know what they said because it's all in that person's email. And so we had to really work toward eliminating the use of email, or if we use email, using a central email address for clients to use just the one email so we can find things. But we have been working very hard to reduce and eliminate email, as I said before, because of, first of all, it's inconvenient, and second, because of the fraud that's out there. And so the goal is eliminate information silos, information that lives only in one place that the whole team can't access. And the second goal is to set client boundaries. So clients cannot email or text you whenever they want. And I know that you have clients who are emailing you and texting you any time of the day, expecting you to drop everything you're doing, and you're answering them, and you're not charging them for it. And so you need to really set those boundaries, and all of that starts from the onboarding process, setting the boundaries of what's expected from clients in order to then keep reinforcing those boundaries with them. So here are some team and client collaboration apps that you can use. I'm calling them standalone, meaning that they're used only for that purpose. So Microsoft Teams or Slack would be used for communication with your team and with clients. And then there's a category that I call all-in-one, which means that they do other things. So Keeper, Financial Sense, Client Hub, Uncat, and Listio have other features that are going on that they have available. In particular, Keeper, Financial Sense, Client Hub, and Lisio are also workflow management apps. So now you have an idea of some of the apps that you can use. And then one of the things that in terms of client collaboration that we really all struggle with is how do we manage all of the unidentified transactions that we see on our clients' books? So what we do is that we categorize those transactions to a separate account. Usually we call it questions for Joe or questions for Jane, whatever the client's name is. We'll say questions for and then put their name. We categorize all of the transactions. When we don't know what they are, we put them in that account. Then we'll send the client a list of those unidentified transactions. In the past, we used to just send an Excel spreadsheet. Now we send all of that through the Keeper app. And as you can see that in my third point, you can automate this process using Keeper app, Financial Sense, or Uncat. And I'm sure there's probably other apps that you could use. A Client Hub is another one that you can use as well. And so that is how you can streamline that process and get the client to answer you, even though, it's difficult. Let me know in the chat if you have issues getting answers from your clients, because I know you're going to say yes. And I think it's an issue for all of us. And right now for our e-commerce clients, they're so busy getting ready for Black Friday that they're not even answering us. So it is a challenge. So here's an example from the Keeper app for how we send requests to our clients when we have questions or need information. And then you'll see that there's a section for either transaction questions or non-transaction questions. And then we have a template set up for the wording that we want to use for them to like upload something or answer a question. And we just select the wording from the templates and put it in the question and send it along. And let's see, Elizabeth says she doesn't have problems getting answers from clients, not since Keeper, because they seem to love that. And yes, a lot of our clients love Keeper. So a recap, the 5 steps to success when it comes to workflow or virtual bookkeeping workflows, tech tools, document management, client onboarding, the monthly bookkeeping process, and team and client collaboration. And I see some of you are putting questions. Make sure you put those in the Q&A because I will answer you from the Q&A because there's too much in the chat for me to find questions, which is great because I know you're talking to each other, so that's fantastic, but it's very hard for me to find a question in the chat. So put it in the Q&A. I would like to share some resources with you. Make sure to go to my YouTube channel for all of my free videos at 5mbvideo.com. Go to the 5MB Academy for free and paid courses, and I will talk about that in just a moment. And to be notified about my latest content, webinars, courses, and sales, sign up to get my newsletter. And then I gave you a QR code to sign up to get my newsletter. So make sure that you do that. And I believe Jill will also share the link to get my newsletter in the chat. So that leads me to the 5NB Academy. When I started my business, I was just struggling. It was difficult enough just to grow my business, scale my business, learn how to delegate. The financial investment I had to make to really grow my business and systematize it. So I was busy doing that a few years ago. And along came Facebook groups, and I decided to start my own Facebook group. And then the people in my Facebook group started asking, would I train them? Could I train them on virtual bookkeeping workflows or my cleanup system, my diagnostic system, and several other areas that they wanted to learn about. And I thought, okay, well, I am passionate about empowering bookkeepers to become better bookkeepers. And so I will start my first course. And my very first course was the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap. And that led to now having an online academy for bookkeepers. So the Virtual Bookkeeper's Roadmap was my very first course that I delivered live in 2018, at the end of 2018, and then recorded the course and released it in January of 2019. Well, since then, there have been so many changes in our industry that I decided to redo the course. And so it is now the new, the new and updated Virtual Bookkeeper's Roadmap is going live on Thanksgiving Day, so basically in time for Black Friday. And in this course, which I said is the new and updated course, I teach you all of my workflows and tools that you need to build a successful QBO virtual bookkeeping business. And it includes step-by-step tutorials, tools, checklists, and templates, as well as video, all of the video tutorials that I give you on apps, document management, client onboarding, the monthly bookkeeping process, the quality control process, and team and client collaboration. And I take a deep dive into each of those areas and share all of my proven systems on how to work efficiently. I share all of my templates, checklists, and you get it all. And it took me years to put it together and hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop all of this in terms of a financial investment. But it is now updated and will be available for you to purchase on Black Friday. So I wanted to let you know about this course, as well as two new courses that I'm putting together as well. These are smaller courses. One is the Bookkeeper's Guide to Confident Communication. And these are done for you templates and scripts to communicate confidently with clients when you don't know what to say, because a lot of us have a hard time being assertive or feeling confident when we're talking to clients, and we don't know what to say when we need to raise prices, when we're changing from hourly to fixed prices, when we need to disengage a client, when the client has out of scope requests, we don't quite know what to say. And then there are many other scenarios in which we're not sure what to say. So I give you the templates and scripts so that you can know what to say. And the course also includes a bonus section on using ChatGPT to help you put together even more scripts and templates that you can use. And then the other new course is Mastering Engagement Letters. This course was put together by Jessie Harris. She is our business operations manager here at Mavency. And I asked her, could she please put together a course that basically shows our entire engagement letter process and templates? Because we have added a lot of extra wording to our engagement letter for sticky situations in which we were burned initially, and then we added the wording in order to avoid those situations. So it includes wording for terminating clients for non-responsiveness and allowing us to not give them any money back. No refunds given for cancellations or termination of service. It has wording for setting up your monthly bookkeeping services as a subscription model. So it's basically a use it or lose it service. So if you have a client who maybe ghosted you 6 months ago and they have continued to pay you, now you need to terminate them. You don't have to give them any money back because it's on your engagement letter that you don't, because they have a subscription service. There's wording for charging for rush requests, wording for charging for out of scope requests, clearly defining the services to be provided, and much more. The engagement letter templates include templates for your monthly bookkeeping, for the cleanup, for cleaning up and catching up the books, and for doing a pay diagnostic review. So I'm super excited about that course as well. And these are short courses. So the Mastering Engagement Letters and the Bookkeeper's Guide to Confident Communication are short courses. You can get in and out, get what you need, start using it right away. So the 5MB Academy even has other courses as well, including our best-selling courses on cleanup in our Shopify bookkeeping method course. So I will let you guys take a look at all of that. It's all at 5MB Academy. And the best news is that we are having a 15% discount on all courses, which is our best discount of the year. for our Black Friday sale. The sale starts Thursday, November the 23rd and ends Monday, November the 27th. So if you want to be notified about the sale, if you're on my mailing list, then you will receive a notification about the sale. And if you are not, please use this QR code or use the link to sign up for my newsletter, and that way you will be notified about the sale. All right, I'm taking off my sales hat now. And yeah, I see that Jill posted that for you. She pinned it to the top of the chat. And Karen says she didn't catch it. Are there 2 new courses? The courses are not free, but they're very low priced. Okay, the 2 new courses. The Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap is not free, and it is a longer course, so it does require an investment, but all of the pricing and everything will be up on our website once the courses are published. They're not published yet. All right, I'm going to go to the Q&A, and I will strive to answer as many questions as I can. And let me switch over to that. And let's see, window, share. All right. Fantastic. So I should be sharing the Q&A. All right, go to the top. Question from Brad. With Keeper's potential new receipt capture, which is in beta, do you think it would replace Dext? That's a great question. I do not know because I don't know what Keeper will do versus Dext. Dext does have the ability to do class tracking as well as job costing. I doubt that Keeper would have that in its initial version. And so if you have clients who need to do job costing or class tracking, you will likely do better using Dext. Lori's asking, would you describe what a premium client represents? That's a fantastic question, Lori. And premium, I think, means different things for different clients, but generally a premium client is one who is willing and able to pay for your services and who appreciates what you do and sees you as an expert or a specialist and someone that they respect, and that they see you as a member of their team as opposed to an employee who they think that you're overcharging and don't think you're worth what you're charging for. So it's a lot easier to find premium clients when you have a niche or when you have a specialty, because those are the types of clients who usually then are looking for experts and specialists and are willing and able to pay for those services. Lisa DeHaas is asking, do you use the Pure Bookkeeping system? I do not. I have my own system, and that is what I teach in the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap. I have never used Pure Bookkeeping. I hear very good things about it, but because I systematize my own business, I then put together my course in which I then teach all of my own systems, and that is the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap. Sonia is asking, would you have an onboarding checklist handy? It is part of the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap course. I may make it available as a separate checklist in the future, but currently, if you buy the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap when it goes live on Black Friday, then it will be included in that course. Uyi is asking, I'm curious on how you manage your e-commerce clients with payroll. As you mentioned, you do not provide payroll services, but have Gusto in your tech stack. Did you set them up and allow them to manage it, or do you just have access to generate reports? So the tech stack that I showed is not my tech stack. It was a recommended tech stack. We do use Gusto internally at Mavency, and we do recommend Gusto to our clients. But a lot of our e-commerce clients don't have employees just because they work with independent contractors primarily. But some of the ones who do, they do their own payrolls, and they may use ADP or Gusto or some others, and we just get the reports that we need. Letitia is asking, can you share the review checklist? That is also included in the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap course. It has a full review checklist, and I go over the review checklist step by step. Natasha is asking, if you are outsourcing AR and AP, what are the folders used for? Receipts just to ensure classified correctly for reconciliation? And I'm not sure what you mean if you are outsourcing, like, are you asking me, are we outsourcing, which we don't, or is if a bookkeeper is outsourcing AR and AP? But if, let's say that you were providing AR and AP services in your document management system, you would have one for accounts receivable, another one for accounts payable. And then within those folders, you would organize all of your client bills, any reports related to their AR or AP, and anything else that you would need to manage for those two areas. Tabitha is asking, what app would you use to send out mass emails or mass communication to all your clients at one time without having to enter each email? I do not use MailChimp. It is now owned by Intuit, and I don't recommend that. So we use ConvertKit. ConvertKit. I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. So it's ConvertKit is the app that we use for mass email. All of the emails that you get from me are on ConvertKit. Elizabeth is asking, what do you use for client signatures and onboarding? So by the time that a client is onboarded, they already would have signed the engagement letter, and we use Ignition for client contracts, and they sign the contract within Ignition. So when they are in onboarding, the only other thing they might possibly sign would be maybe a credit card authorization form, which we don't use, but then we just use DocuSign if we need to. Are my team members payroll employees or contractors? So Margaret is asking, all of my team members, all but one, are employees because they all follow my system. So I control what they do, so that automatically makes them an employee, not a contractor. And then we have an offshore resource, and so they are a vendor. So we have one offshore resource who is, I guess, vendor/contractor. Monica's asking, what mentoring resource do you recommend newbies use when they get stuck? It would depend on what you're getting stuck on, because there are business type issues that you might have issues with, and there are also technical problems. And so it would depend on the type of help that you need. But if you're getting stuck on things related to say QuickBooks, I would recommend RoyalWise for QuickBooks training, and I believe she also has a monthly mentoring membership. Kathy Grosskirth is another with bookkeepingcleanandsimple.com, who provides one-to-one coaching and training on bookkeeping and QuickBooks online. And then beyond that, it just depends on if you have some marketing, sales type issue. I used to do some mentoring myself. I'm not doing that currently, and I don't know somebody who is. Janice Dowd is asking, how do you find your clients? The majority of our clients find us through YouTube and social media. And so we use content marketing to attract clients who find us through YouTube and social media. Jennifer Grant is asking, how do you record journal entries in your team folders? So for journal entries, so going back to our document management system, and then Jennifer saw that we have a folder for journal entries. We document all journal entries. So all journal entries must show the journal entry and show the documentation behind that journal entry. That comes from my training as an auditor that we had to have that. So I require that of all of my employees so that when we go and see a journal entry on the books, we're not wondering where did those numbers come from or why did you book that? It has to have documentation for each journal entry. So let's say that we are booking depreciation, then there would have to be a depreciation schedule attached to that journal entry in our client files. Linda's is asking, what are the best apps for solo bookkeepers? So the app stack that I shared, that the beginner app stack was one that you could look at. And then the one app that I'm looking at now, and I actually signed up for it, I haven't fully set it up yet, is HoneyBook for solo bookkeepers. I think it has a lot of promise because it does a lot of different things. And so take a look at HoneyBook. Kim is asking, when during building your business did I get my CPA? I did not. I got my CPA right out of college. So it's been a few years. I won't tell you how many because then you will know how old I am. But so I was already a CPA when I had my business. Margaret is asking, how do you handle custom financial reports with Keeper since the reporting is so limited? I don't find their reporting limited. I use it for my own businesses, actually, as well as for our clients. And it's got KPIs. It has charts and graphs. So I don't find it limited. So perhaps, Margaret, you might want to take a look and see what what functionality they have and whether maybe they have something you need that they don't have. But what I have found it for me as a business owner, that I manage my businesses just on just a few KPIs. I don't need all the detail, and I certainly don't want to look at the financial statements when I'm looking at KPIs. But sometimes we as accountants want to kind of give our client information overload when in fact they don't need as much information as we think. Stacy's asking, do we work with international clients? We do not. Occasionally we will work with Canadian clients, but even Canadian accounting is fairly different. And so we tend to just work with US-based clients. Rebecca's asking, do you use Keeper for communication? Yes, we do. And I would say that's probably one of the strengths of Keeper. Karen is asking, how do you handle cash purchases from clients? That's a good question. And we have a client who he lives in Texas and crosses the border to Mexico on a regular basis and carries a lot of cash and makes a lot of cash purchases. And we basically just have to ask the client to tell us how he spent the money, because we don't really have anything else. They could maybe write something down or keep a ledger. So that's one option. They can keep a ledger on a Google sheet to write down how they spent their cash. Another possibly might be like to get some receipt and then take a picture with text. Carol Sabeda's asking, what tech do you use when onboarding a new client? So for client onboarding, we use Keeper. So we're using Keeper. We're using Box. We still want our clients, hold on. No, we're using Keeper, and actually clients are uploading their documents to Keeper. We take those documents and we put them in Box, but we're primarily using Keeper for onboarding. Jackie is asking, do you password protect QuickBooks every month? And yes, we do. That's how we close the books. Uyi is asking, how do you manage last minute changes after you restrict the books, like a bill for a closed month? It's for our types of clients, because they're primarily paying for everything with their credit cards, we don't have that issue. But in the case of maybe a bill wasn't entered when it should have, I think that's a decision for you and your client to make as to whether you want to reopen the books and update them. I would tend to stay away from that unless it was a significant expense, just because then you're opening and closing and changing your financials. A question from Rebecca: in the future, are you going to do a training on how you use Keeper? Not through the academy. We last month I had Ben Stein with Keeper do a demo for us. So look for that video on my YouTube channel. I posted the recording of that webinar on the YouTube channel, but I personally will not be doing a Keeper, how to use Keeper video or course, just because there's just so much. And honestly, I don't live in Keeper. My team members do. I don't use it quite as much. Carissa is asking, can you send questions in HubDoc? I do not use HubDoc and I don't know. So if someone knows the answer to that, please let her know. Janice is asking, doesn't QBO have this integrated in their software, like client communication and document transferring? They do to some extent, but as I said before, I don't use anything in QBO outside of just the core bookkeeping accounting software, just because in the past 13 years I've seen too many things come and go, and so I just don't put my eggs in that basket because it many times it goes, or it just they release a product and then they only get it to a certain level of functionality and then they don't continue to add on to it. Let's see. I will answer questions for 5 more minutes. So if you need to go, please go ahead, but I will stay on for 5 more minutes and answer as much as I can and then wrap it up. Alan is asking, what's your opinion on what's your opinion on Go High Level app for bookkeeping? I'm not sure what that means, Alan. So if you can resend that question, I would appreciate it. Laura's asking, I enrolled in the 5MB Academy and never finished. Will I be able to pick up where I left off? Absolutely. You have lifetime access to all courses on 5MB Academy. Jackie is asking, I'm not familiar with Keeper. Can you send a report from QBO through Keeper to a client? No, not in terms of like running a report on QBO and sending it through Keeper. No, you would send it through QBO. But there, again, watch the webinar recording that I did last month that is on my YouTube channel. Audrey, is asking, what workflows do you suggest for getting categorization information from clients that have a project class location-based business? In these cases, I would need to know the project and class for every transaction. I've dabbled between using HubDoc or having them just fill out a spreadsheet, but see, it's so daunting. That is daunting, Audrey. And I think at some point you have to start asking yourself, should that client have someone in-house to do that part of the work, just because they have more access to that information as opposed to you trying to get it from them. But I would definitely go the route of either using Dext or HubDoc, and even possibly even having the client write down the class and the project, or having them update a spreadsheet. I think I would probably want to go the HubDoc or Dext route with the client, because then I would see that and immediately categorize it on the app. Rebecca's asking, do you see an overview / training session on how you use Keepers? Again, look at the webinar from last month, but I will not be doing a training on that. Sarah is asking about documents. How do you discern when you need a receipt service like Dext? What types of documents are kept in Box as opposed to Dext? And I know that you can get documents through Keeper. So that's a great question, because now some of these apps are allowing you to upload documents, or for the client to upload documents, but they're not really document management apps. And so then they maybe don't have a good way to organize your documents. Maybe the documents are not easy to find, easy to retrieve. And so that's why we use and continue to use Box. Even though clients may be uploading documents to us on Keeper, we are than putting them in box, and sometimes we will just have the client put things straight into box just because box is more secure. And we already have a system within box, whereas we don't have that in Keeper or Financial Sense or some other app. And I'm very excited about the roadmap course too. Natalie's asking if I'm purchased the roadmap before, will it have the updated version in my portal? If so, when? I'm going to send an email letting the current students know what the changes will be and how they will be delivered. Natasha is asking, like most of your other courses, do you offer the templates as a separate price if not wanting the course? I have not done that in the past. I'm thinking about it to just offer all the templates and that's it. And I will have to set it up after the Black Friday sale because we have a lot going on right now. But I will have a year-end sale, so it'll probably be in that sale if you're waiting for a sale. But I will likely have then just all the checklists available. And okay, so I went 5 minutes and sorry, I did not finish. So, oh my goodness, yeah, there's so many questions. Sorry about that, guys. So if you have a pressing question and I did not answer you, please ask the question in my Facebook group. Feel free to tag me in the Facebook group. I will answer you there, but I'm sorry, we have run out of time and I want to be respectful of your time. So again, if you have a question that I did not answer and you would like me to answer you, go to my Facebook group, 5-Minute Bookkeeping Community on Facebook. If you're not a member, put your question there and tag me so that I will answer you there. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to share all of this with you. Always love to answer all of your questions. And hopefully you'll be able to join me for the Black Friday sale. I would appreciate that. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye, everyone.